When we left on our trip, we wrote two names on our arms, Priya and Anita, two trafficked girls who are very real, who have very real stories.
I went into this trip knowing that I was going to see and work with girls who have been trafficked for the majority of their life. And I thought that I was going to meet them and they would be completely broken and devastated and depressed and honestly just sitting over in a corner crying.
One night in the dorm, in the middle of the night, one of the girls woke up with a very horrific scream and woke up the other girls, and she was shaking and she was terrified.
We actually took a picture in the airport with all the names on our arms, never imagining that 30 hours later I would be face to face with Priya, the name on my arm.
But the next day, that's when it really hit me that this is a reality for the girls, that it wasn't just a dream, but that they actually had experienced hurt. Those nightmares were their daily lives, and that it didn't just happen to them one time, but it happened to them every day and consecutively throughout the day. And I think that's when my heart broke the most, and when I really just realized how heavy of a work that we were doing with them, and also just how beautiful of a work that it is to see them coming out of those nightmares and learning to deal with them and learning to find joy and find hope in life despite of them.
I remember pulling up to the camp that night after a long day of travel, and the name had begun to wear, but it was still on my arm. You could see Priya. And we got out of the bus, and there she was. I immediately recognized her. I mean, we look at her picture every day. It's behind me. And I think we must have scared her because we're like, we know you. You're Priya. Look, your name is on our arm. We've been praying for you.
These aren't the girls that I was picturing. They were joyful. They were happy. They were singing and dancing.
Yes, it was amazing to see the girls that we work with, Priya being one of them. But I think it was also really beneficial to see the women who work with those girls and to hear their stories and to hear some of the things that the social workers go through and some of the things that they see and some of the things that they struggle with, because obviously it's important for us to be praying for these trafficked victims and just the journey that they're going through towards healing. But I think we also need to remember to pray for the people who are working with them, because they are under spiritual attack every day.
My mom wrote a verse for us every day that we were gone, and I looked forward to reading them. And the day that we actually made it to Breakthrough Camp, she sent me Isaiah 61, and it's a verse that I've committed to memory in most part. It's sort of a life verse for me. But I'd never paid attention to the next line, and it jumped off the page for me. It says, "The Spirit of the Lord God is upon me, because the Lord has anointed me to bring good news to the suffering and afflicted. He has sent me to comfort the brokenhearted, to announce freedom to captives, and to open the eyes of the blind. He has sent me to tell those who mourn that the time of God's favor to them has come, and the day of his wrath to their enemies. To those who mourn, he will give beauty for ashes, joy instead of sorrow, praise instead of heaviness. For God has planted them like strong and graceful oaks for his own glory." And it was that last sentence about the strong and graceful oaks. My mom could have had no idea what an impact that made on our team that day. And the reason is, at Breakthrough Camp, there's a huge rock formation. And at the very top is a huge tree that has grown out of the broken rock. It's actually split the rock at the top. And it's a 90-year-old tree that started as a seed, and it's now this big, beautiful, blossoming tree. It's the whole focal point of the camp. You can't help but see it. What an amazing parallel to these girls. Out of broken lives, God is planting the seed that is growing, that is flourishing, that is creating these beautiful, strong, and graceful oaks for his glory.
I just remember thinking that they had so much joy and they had so much hope.
Maybe it seems tedious to sit at a desk and to send out emails and to, hold a race in your town or to fundraise or, whatever thing that you might be able to do in your sphere of influence. Sometimes it might feel like it loses value or loses momentum because you're not right there, right in the story, right in face to face with it. But if you think about it, if we don't do what we're doing here, then they are not able to do what they're doing there. And so we each have a role to play, we each have a part. And so I was really challenged, encouraged, and reminded that as a race director here in Lynchburg, Virginia, in the United States, my job in this is to continue doing the best that I can to raise money, to raise awareness so that, Zina in India can keep talking to Priya about healing and keep helping her towards that journey and restoration.
This is why I do what I do, so that girls like them can have that hope and they can have that joy.
So as you raise your arm for Priya or Anita, please understand the impact you are making just by putting one foot in front of the other today. You're bringing freedom, you're bringing hope. It's not a joke, it's not a lie, it is real. I got to hug Priya and kiss her and tell her she was beautiful this week. And it was such a joy, and it's not possible without me, without you, without all of us getting together and fighting for her, fighting for freedom.